This is a Balanced Brain podcast with your hosts, Melanie Nicholson and Sean Clift.
Welcome back to the Balanced Brain podcast. My name's Sean Clift, and I'm joined again, as always, with my good friend and co-host, Melanie Nicholson. Melanie, good to see you again. How are you?
I'm going great. Thanks, Sean.
We got another excellent episode tonight. We're joined by one of my oldest friends, Leigh Tankey. She's a school teacher up at Agnes Waters. We caught up with our family holiday about a month ago, I'd say, and she was telling me about this amazing program that she's implemented in the school that she works in, and I thought we'd have a chat to her. So, hey, Leigh, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Welcome, Leigh.
Hi, thanks, guys. It's an absolute honour to be on your podcast.
An honour. We love that.
Leigh, tell us about yourself and about the program.
Yeah, I've been teaching for over 20 years now. I've had the good fortune to have taught out west in a variety of schools, 2 teachers' schools, bigger schools, and I'm a mum of 3 and live with my family in beautiful Agnes Water here. So I've been here for about 10 years. We've raised our family. We're still raising our family. And we were lucky enough to be able to do some work with the Smiling Mind program. And so what has started as something lovely to do to help people feel calm has actually become a really integral part of the way our school operates now.
So, Leigh, just give us a quick rundown. What is Smiling Mind?
Smiling Mind is a not-for-profit organisation. So I'll tell you what I used to think it was before I learnt more about it. I used to think Smiling Mind was a program for troubled teenagers. So when I first heard of Smiling Mind, I didn't see much application in my job or my life. However, I attended a wellbeing workshop and we actually participated in a Smiling Mind meditation, and what we got to learn and experience we thought was pretty powerful for our students back here. And so it's a program that's broken up into 20 key lesson areas, and each of those lessons gives students a mindset to work on. And it's been very deliberately structured so that at the start of the year, the students work through lessons around attention and awareness and move all the way through the year to gratitude and acts of kindness. So it's a program where we actually get to meditate, learn what it means to be mindful, and then actually debrief and learn more together.
Wow, it sounds amazing. So let's just clarify, you're in a primary school. So what are the kids' ages that are participating in this program?
So the kids range from prep to year 6.
Okay, so, it's sort of 5 to 11? Is that right?
5 to about 12, that's right, yeah.
And Leigh, do you do it through all grades? So you do it for all ages between that age?
We do. So the implementation of this program has been very deliberately slow and structured. So we didn't just come in and say, hey, this is a great idea and now we're all going to do it. We've developed it over a couple of years now so that what is actually happening in our school every single week is the same lesson. So this week, the lesson is on managing emotions.
Okay.
Next week, next fortnight, the lesson will be on gratitude. And so what happens is at our weekly parade, I stand up and do some belly breathing and starfish breathing with the whole school. And then we talk about the key concepts of whatever the lesson might be for that week. And then in the classrooms, the teachers do about a 30-minute lesson. And then with the students, they debrief. Then through the week, they listen to a meditation, a 2 to 3 minute meditation that's directly linked to that concept they've been taught. So in managing emotions, so this week with my class, we had the lesson on what does it mean? Where do we feel emotions? Let's classify our emotions, not as good or bad, but as useful or not useful. Let's be curious about the emotion we're feeling. What's it telling us? And then the students get talked through a guided meditation And we participate. So the adults in the room participate because there's a lot of value and power in that. And we need it. Teachers need it as well. And so when they did the guided meditation this week, they actually prompted you with saying, imagine it's the first day of the school holidays. So the kids all felt the emotion, so did I, of what that feels like. And then imagine you've gone to the beach and then you've been told you've got to go home. And so they step them through all the emotions they may feel in that one day. And then afterwards we debrief. Well, how did you feel when it was the first day of the holidays? And we describe it. We felt joy. And what did joy feel like for you? And how did you feel when you had to go home? I felt frustrated or disappointed. And so it actually gives them practice at feeling those emotions, learning the strategies to roll with that. We debrief, we see that, other people feel the same and it's normal. And then when we face those situations where we are having a tricky emotion, we've practiced. We know what to do when we're feeling frustrated or angry. We can do some breathing. We can pay attention to what's happening right now around us. So we've had the practice, and then when we need it, we use it.
So Leigh, this is not just a tick and flick. This is like a really dedicated, this is, you're going through the whole genre of meditation and mindfulness. It's not just a 5-minute exercise a week in the playground.
That's right. Or something to do to cool the kids down after a hot lunch. So I have so much faith and trust in the people who've designed this program. So it is research driven, and I don't want to rattle off statistics and tell you all the things that people could find for themselves. We are living this right now in our school, and the benefits for me are more than I ever imagined. And it has encouraged me just to go on and to encourage others also to give it that time that it needs. But it is working. We don't have data in numbers to say now we have 80% of children who feel more resilient around coming to school. We can't measure it like that. But what we are measuring is we're constantly checking in with our teachers and with our students. And I've got some absolutely beautiful quotes from kids that to me is more meaningful as a collection of if this is working or not than to gather, percentages.
So Leigh, you're obviously really passionate about this because we had a really good conversation when our families were together on holidays a month or two ago, and I know that you were talking to me about it even 12 months the year before. So, how did you get it started? What brought it to you? What was the thing that made you think, look, I want to bring this into my school? How did you sort of start to develop that program yourself?
So I've been really fortunate with the two principals that I've worked with over the implementation of this, that they've been incredibly supportive and they see the value in it. So it began in 2019 when the principal and myself, we did some training around the wheel of wellbeing. And through that, we learned a lot of the science behind and well-being's not just about being able to do the tricky yoga pose or living a pure vegetarian non-drinking lifestyle, which definitely is amazing and good for you, but it doesn't
hopefully the kids don't have to worry about the no drinking.
But I think red wine, we did learn that red wine is good for you.
There you go. That's good to know.
Polyphenols or something good for you. No, what actually happened was we came in after the break and they played a Smiling Mind meditation. And so we participated in it. And whilst that was happening, I'd also been introduced to yoga here in town. So that was something I had never, ever done previously and thought, no, I'm not a yoga person. Like, they're probably going to laugh at me. I'm in my trackies and I was pushing a pram in it and I didn't fit that mold. I don't fit that mold. But what I felt through doing that and when we sat with the principal and I sat in that room and did the meditation, we said, hey, look at how calm this room is. Look at how settled everyone is. Imagine in a classroom. Let's have a play. So when we came back, we started really putting wellbeing at the front and center in the workplace. Not just, you can do your wellbeing at 5 o'clock, or you can do your wellbeing on the weekend when you go surfing or whatever it is. No, we're putting it into our day, our workplace. We're valuing it.
Right.
So we very bravely started our staff meetings with a smiling mind meditation, just a short meditation. And we came at it from the angle that this is a really great practice for your wellbeing. We value you. So let's all spend some time now just doing this meditation. And Agnes Water is the type of place where it's near the ocean. So it's healthy living, and people are very open-minded. And so the majority of the staff were open, and they said, yep, this is great. And if they didn't, it was good-natured in that they would just sort of get to sit quietly for 3 or 4 minutes and not have to do anything. So that's a good thing as well. And so we got our staff doing it, and we talked about how it could be applied. And we've got some early adopters, some teachers who were already trying that.
So you started with the staff first?
Yeah, because...
Wow, okay, great. Right.
Because you cannot make something like this have impact if it's not valued by the people implementing it.
Mm.
And so it also, what spilled out of that was it used to happen that I would sit there, I wouldn't be able to meditate because I was too worried that maybe people didn't like it, and maybe they just thought this was another thing that they were having to do and they didn't like it. And I would worry the whole time, completely not defeating the purpose of being mindful. But over the years, I realised that it didn't really matter so much, and that what I was thinking they were thinking probably wasn't the case at all.
Yeah, right.
It never is it, Leigh? Like, it's never,
No.
Yeah, it's just things we make up in our mind. But in my experience, most people, even just to have that quietness as an adult,
Yes.
and
Stop.
I was going to say to you, I guess your best feedback when it comes back to the kids would be from parents. Like, what's happening there with the feedback from the parents?
Yeah, so the way we knew that we had to let parents know what we were doing and give them information around it, because you could imagine some people might be thinking, geez, how do they have time to do that in schools? They complain they don't have enough time, and now here they all are lying down on the ground, So, and no one ever did say that, but we armed them with information. We have a particular way of doing our homework, which is really family friendly. And part of the homework grid that we send home, it talks a little bit about having the smiling mind meditation playing. So kids were bringing it home through their homework so that parents would be able to check it out with their children at home. And we ran some parent professional development sessions. I got trained a little bit more in embedding the program with a colleague of mine, and together the two of us were able to sit down with some parents and share the information. And then what happened became through how much the student picked it up. So I had a mum, and these things came out of the blue, and they were so exciting, and they always seem to come at a time where you were thinking, is this working? Are people really interested? One mum sent an email saying, I was listening to my daughter playing with her friend in the room the other day, and they were playing schools, and you could hear them. And then at the start of the day, they actually led the dolls through a guided meditation.
Wow.
And the mum was so supportive of that, because she said, children play what they experience, and you are giving this to our students. And she could hear what they were saying. And then I had another mother come up to me after school one day, and she was very excited. She actually grabbed me and said her daughter had her appendix out, she'd had her surgery done, and she was very nervous beforehand. And the daughter, this little girl, used the Smiling Mind meditation techniques to calm herself down. She knew at that age what she was feeling and what she could do to help get herself into a better state of mind. And so I love it as a teacher. I love what it brings to the classrooms. I love it as leading our staff around looking after their well-being. And I just wish, because when I was a little girl, I was pretty nervous and I was pretty quiet and always in my head, not sharing too much because I was really trying to be seen and not heard. And I wish that someone could have given me this language around, hey, you know what you're feeling now is pretty normal, and we're going to help you be more resilient, or we're going to help you show a little bit of self-compassion. And these are some of the things you can do. I wish this for every kid. I really do.
Yeah, Leigh, I think we all wish that back. And, having gone through, like I'm 45, so I went through the education system in the 80s, as Sean would have. And
we're all about the same age.
Yeah, it would have been amazing to have that from the start, and to start in primary school rather than, letting it get to high school and they've never done these things before, and then high school is the challenge. So it's great that it's starting this early.
Yeah.
So, Leigh, it must have had not just an impact with the school. I mean, it's a little community up there at Agnes. It must have sort of flowed through the whole community, really.
Well, that's the beauty of this place, is that you can go, tonight there's a special moon. You could go to chanting tonight. You could go to yoga tonight. It's not an uncommon concept, but what is uncommon, and a comment got made just recently with a new parent who'd come to enroll their child. They'd been in a lot of other systems, a lot of other education systems. And when we talked about the Smiling Mind program, she was kind of thinking, no, you can't do that in a state system. Right. That's very forward thinking of you, was the comment. And we sort of said, no, it's changed. Education has evolved, and this is where it's at and where it needs to be at. So one of the analogies we use is around, when you get kids to school and you've got the best lessons planned and you've got the most amazing classroom and everything's ready to go. But if that child is not in a state to learn, if that child has suffered any trauma, and it doesn't have to be a big traumatic event, trauma can come in a lot of different forms. So they're going to be in their fight or flight mode. They're not going to be able to learn or retain information. And so we talk about it like you're painting your room, and you could have the most beautiful paint to paint on that wall, but if you don't have that undercoat and that sanding, if you don't have that preparation done, nothing's going to stick. And I feel like that's what this mindfulness meditation does for the kids. And so they learn a little bit of the science around it as well, which is so fascinating for them, and they can cope with it. So they learn about the brain, and it's in the student-friendly language, but for me, that's also me-friendly language that helps I actually understand that. So we can flick them if they're having a rough time. And a lot of kids did have a rough time. A lot of families did have a rough time during COVID. And so we can make sure when they come, if we can do the breathing, if we can get them out of that fight or flight zone and into their prefrontal cortex, then they can be responding to learning. They can be communicating with you about how they're feeling instead of crying or not talking or being under the table. So we're helping them become more resilient. And so the community, the big community, I guess, the feeling that has come is really around what the parents are saying about it, and that's what they're spreading out there.
Well, Leigh, like, you're a parent as well, and so I know that your two kids were, the three kids. I don't know if Sam might have been a bit too old before it started, but I know your other two, Rosie and Benji, they went through the program. How was it for you as a mother?
Oh, so grateful. So appreciative to the teachers for being open to learning something new. Knowing, kids go through, I have learnt that it is not smooth sailing being a parent, and you've got to have some tools to support your children when they go through things that you can't protect them from, or that you want to, but you're going to deprive them of some really great life lessons if you do. So for me, I could introduce it at home, and there were times when my husband Jeremy is also very supportive of this. So my son would go and compete in a tennis competition, and on the way there, he and my husband listened to a meditation to help him get into the zone where he could calm down and visualize and just be okay. But that's only a small amount. So I could do a little bit as a mum, and I could use what I know as a mum here at home, but having it embedded at a school level, just the relief I feel knowing that the things we talk about around the dinner table at night, the issues that they might be facing, I know that common language is going to be used in their classroom with their teachers the next day, and they'll talk about mindful communication. And so I can do my bit as a mum, but what those teachers are giving the kids at school is just giving them such a deeper understanding. And it's being observed, we have some tricky challenges from time to time. All schools do. And I used to worry that when, and little preps as well, putting a meditation on for little preps and getting them to do it, because we did think, how will they lay still for 5 minutes? Can they? But some of these kids who are having a tricky time, who our hearts are, open the most for, they're starting to request, can we do a smiling mind now?
Wow.
Whereas some of these kids, it was hard to regulate their emotions, and we would have to try everything we could. And so now we're actually taking a bit more of a preventative approach with them, so that we're not having to put out the fire of anxiety or not wanting to come to school and saying, try doing the meditation now. We're doing it before that stuff even hits. And so we're seeing less incidents of that kind of thing as well.
So I was going to ask you, Leigh, about that, because obviously behavioural issues are just such a big thing in schools now. So tell us how the behaviour overall has changed. Like, how is that happening in the school, and what's every day like for, I guess, the environment of the school and the culture, school culture?
Yeah, and it's funny because I had a meeting this morning with one of my supervisors, and culture was what kept coming up, how the culture in the school feels. Again, something that you can't measure. So what we've done in our school is we've actually aligned the lesson schedule, so what gets taught each fortnight, with our, it's called PBL, it's Positive Behaviour for Learning. So, it's not when we were at school you'd get detention or it's not like that anymore. And so we teach, so behaviours are telling us something. And so the Smiling Mind program has worked in really well. So, for example, this week the focus might be we are safe in our school, and we're safe when we keep our hands and our feet to ourselves. So we all reinforce that really strongly. But the Smiling Mind part might be, and I use great words, kind words, and tell people when I'm grateful for them. So what the program has given us is this really consistent approach to the way we speak to the students, the way we expect them to speak to each other as well. So we started a kindness jar because that came out of it, all of these little acts of kindness, and we thought we need to recognise this. And so every week on parade, you could get your name drawn out of a jar that someone else has put in for an act of kindness that you've done. And it's a simple thing, and I know it's all over the world, the random acts of kindness. It's such a good thing, but it happens every week in our school, and it fits to the Smiling Mind program. So it's kind of like all these pieces of the puzzle that make our culture, make our school, that I think we can just really attribute to that Smiling Mind.
Leigh, you've been a professional teacher for a long time. What would you recommend for other teachers, other schools? How can they get involved? Or I know you don't have the program, but what would you say to other schools on how they should get involved, and how could they go about it?
So firstly, I would say invest in your team, your staff, the people let them feel the benefits of what this program can actually give teachers, and talk around there's a component of the program for educators. So by letting them feel it and think, wow, this is really great, then will be easier for them to sell it to the students and the families. If a school was wanting to have a go at this, you will be very well supported with the Smiling Mind resources. They offer self-care webinars for teachers after school. They do it as a Zoom. So they will help you set it up. My advice would be to start with just one little thing, one little change that you might like to see happen, and give it the time. Just give it time and be patient with it. It is worth it. And I wonder what it could be like, not necessarily in a school, but in a workplace.
Yeah, right.
I've never worked in a workplace other than a school. But I just think, we play, so we didn't say to all of our staff, all right, everybody, now you have to put the app on your phone and you have to meditate, because you cannot, because it's such a personal, really personal thing. But what we did do is we made it fun. So everyone loves a game and a bit of an incentive. So we filled our staff room whiteboard with, there's about 12 different activities that all contribute to your well-being. We called it mindfulness bingo. And so when you completed that activity, you had to sign your name on the piece of paper, and the person at the end, of a week or 2 weeks, with their name up the most for having done the most of these mindfulness activities, might get a free playground. I might do your playground duty, or whatever it is that people would buy into. So one of the activities in Mindfulness Bingo was download the Smiling Mind app. After about 2 or 3 terms of playing the game, everyone had the app on their phone.
Right.
Things like, drinking 2 litres of water today, go and eat your lunch out in the garden, go to the beach after school, do a Smiling Mind meditation with a class today. So we just tried to really slowly trickle it in and let people feel how good it is and how it makes us as educators. We are more emotionally aware. We're aware of when we feel like perhaps now we need a little rest, and it's okay to clock off right now, so that we're not pushing ourselves to that point of burnout or getting to the school holidays and falling in a heap because you're exhausted from your term that you've had. So yes, that's what that's how we.
So for you personally, Leigh, how's it affected you? How's it changed your practice on a daily basis? Like, you and I had a great discussion there a couple of months ago. So you've started meditating. You've started to really change your personal, practice, I guess. How's it affected you personally?
So the big reason that I changed and developed this as part of, because I am a routine habit person, I need to have my little things that I do each day for it to become something that I just do. And we learnt in our training of this concept, and I don't know much about it, so I don't want to get it wrong when I say it, but it's called the allostatic load. And they talked about it, likening it to when you're driving a car and, you've got your car and you just put the petrol in, and it could be just crappy petrol, but it doesn't matter, it's petrol. And you just keep driving it, and you don't worry about the oil, or your car's so old the light doesn't probably come on. You don't worry about filling up the windscreen wiper thing. You don't worry if your tires are bald, because it's still going. And so they talked about that is what we are doing to our bodies when we are operating under that stress. And what that does is we're always feeling adrenaline. So I was finding myself with that feeling of panic in my stomach. Nothing bad was happening. Nothing. It was just this feeling of, come on, kids, get in the car. Get your uniform on. Get your hair done. Let's go. Let's go. I don't have time to talk about that. Let's get in the car. We've got to go. And we'd get there, and I'd get to school, and kind of think, wow, I just rushed that kid. I just rushed that little 7-year-old girl through plaiting her hair and enjoying a morning just because I felt stressed and needed to get to work so people wouldn't think that, I wasn't on time or whatever I would worry about. And I used to think, well, it's okay because when I get to work, I'm pleasant and I'm doing my job, but that feeling is still there. And that's when I learned about the allostatic load, I thought, that's the cortisol still there. You have to get it out of your body. So it's not okay to operate on that feeling all the time. So when you meditate, and physical exercise as well is a way of getting rid of it, from my understanding. And so one of the things we learned when we did our training was you needed to develop the habit. So you needed to tie your meditation with a habit that you had. And you had to write it down and you had to commit to it. So mine was when I get up in the morning, I'll boil the kettle to make my cup of tea. And while I'm waiting for the kettle to boil, I will sit down and I will do a meditation. So I was putting it into, so it's like, the SMART goals, you have to make it work in with what you're doing. And now what it is in the mornings, maybe 3 or 4 mornings a week, before I get out of bed, I just kind of check in with how my body's feeling, what's my head thinking, and what meditation do I need. And in the app, the one I've been doing this week is self-compassion. So talking to yourself the way you might to a friend if they said, I don't think I'm good enough, or I think I'm overwhelmed. And that's how I start my day.
Wow.
Before I get out of bed.
Leigh, what I can see would be crucial part of the ongoing success of this program is, one, parents being aware of the program and advocating for themselves in their own schools. How do we get parents involved in that more formal process? Because it is quite formal in schools and how you have to implement that. So how do we get parents involved? Because I think that's a critical part of everything that's happening here.
Yes, the parents. So I think making sure that along your way of implementing this, that you not only set aside time for training the teachers and the teacher aides, but you have to have the parents as well. We presented ours to our P&C committee. So before you put in a program or something that you want to do, you have to take it for approval to show them. And so that P&C committee is the representative of the parent. So you'll tell them all about it and they feed back out to the parents.
So if a parent in another school in Agnes Waters found out that their friend's child was going to your school and they wanted, and it's not in their school, then how does that parent advocate to get it in their kid's school?
Well, they have to, you can do it at your home, like you can do it at home, like it is a home friendly practice that definitely you can do. It needs to become from the leaders, I think. I think it needs to be valued from the leaders in the school. I don't know how they would get it happening if it wasn't, but I do know that it is spreading. I do know that the fact that this is something that helps kids with their resilience, like that word of mouth would spread it. To put it into a school, I would get in touch with the Smiling Mind program. And you do need to have a couple of people trained in actually how to do the lesson sequence and how, because the lessons are the same all the time. It follows the same. That's a good question. I'm not in that situation.
Well, what we'll do is we'll put a link. We'll put a link in our show notes to the Smiling Mind organisation, because I think after people listening to this, I'll be really keen to get some information. So we'll link in our notes so people can find that. But it sounds like an amazing program, Leigh. And just I'd like to finish up by just, is there any? You don't have to mention names or anything like that, but what's some of the particular results that you've seen from some of the kids?
So when we asked the kids...
Yeah, what's some of the feedback that you got from a couple of the kids?
So they've said things like, because we say, what benefits do you feel in your classroom? How does your classroom feel from doing Smiling Mind? They say, it feels like we can concentrate more.
Wow.
It feels like we listen to each other more. It feels calmer. People are kinder. So I was reading through tonight just to get it into my head to prepare, and this is the stuff that they are saying. So everything that you'll see in the research around Smiling Mind, around what it actually does, we didn't say that to the kids. But when we're asking these grade 5 and 6 year olds, so year levels, sorry, so that's 11 and 12 year olds, that's the words that they're using back to us. So they're saying it helps me be kinder, it helps me listen.
Wow.
The teachers are calmer.
Well, we're a big advocate of meditation on the Balanced Brain podcast. We've had a couple of episodes about it. So it's been fascinating to talk to you, Leigh, about the Smiling Mind program. I think anyone who's involved in a PNC or any teachers that are listening, check out our show notes and go and have a look at Smiling Minds and see if there's a way that you can implement this into your school. Because, you know, from talking tonight, but not just tonight, Leigh, you and I have talked for years about this, how much of an amazing program it's been in your school up there. So I think it'd be great for any other school to get involved. What do you think, Mel?
Yeah, it would be amazing. I've already written down, so make sure that we link it through, because I am positive that they would just, every school would benefit, right? But to start it at primary school, I think is really important. But just to get the message out, because a lot of these great programs exist, but no one knows about them. So you wouldn't want to see this not be fully utilised, because it's so important.
Leigh, it's been so good to have you on the show. It's so amazing to see, you know, a teacher like you is so passionate about your job and about the well-being of the kids. It's such it's very comforting for me as a father of a 6-year-old to know that there's teachers out there like you, Leigh, that are really driving this sort of thing through the school. So I want to say thank you. You've been a very good friend to me over the years, and it's been fascinating to listen to you talk about this. It's so great to have you on the show. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Leigh.
Thank you. I really appreciate it, guys. You're doing a good job doing this. And I have to say, the amount of times I have listened to you on my one day off a fortnight, I plan a job like doing all my folding or cleaning out my pantry, and I listen to you both. And Mel, I've never spoken to you before, but when I listen to your podcast, it feels like I'm listening to two old friends, and it's lovely. I want to chime in. I want to text you and say, yes, that's exactly how I feel.
I'll give you my phone number.
Well, now we're 3 old friends. We're 3 old friends on the show.
I do think I really commend you for this work, and I think what you're doing is very important. And thank you for having me and giving me a chance to speak about something that I do love. And I feel privileged.
Thank you so much, Leigh.
Thank you, Leigh. Thanks, everyone, for listening again. So, look, we'll put some links in our show notes to the Smiling Mind program. Leigh, you're doing a wonderful job up there at Agnes Waters. Say hello to all the family, and I can't wait to see you soon. You live too far away now.
I know.
At least we get to catch up once a year. All
yeah.
Right.
See you, Leigh.
See you, Leigh.
Thanks, guys.
See you, Mel. Thanks, everyone. Bye.